give the sign. Good morning, everybody. My name's Bruce Main. I'm the president of Urban Promise. And this morning, we've got some really special guests. But it's great to be here at First Pres Morristown. This church has been connected to Urban Promise, I think, for over 30 years. So you've been incredible partners and have embraced this journey with us. So this morning, I want to introduce you to a few of our fellows. So fellows are young leaders that we bring from countries around the world. They come to Urban Promise for 2 years. While they're here, they get a master's degree in nonprofit leadership. And while they're getting their master's degree, they're also embedded in our organization. So they're learning kind of nonprofit work from the inside out. And so we have, Hamilton, you want to step up and go first? Do you want to say hi?
Hi. Hi, my name is Hamilton Douglas Banda. I'm from Malawi.
So you're from Malawi, and you've been in the U.S. now for how long?
10 months now.
10 months.
Yeah.
So tell us, what's been the highlight of being in the U.S.?
One thing that I always say is like, it's so different with Malawi, totally different. So in everything, like it is good, and I love to be here.
And tell me what the major difference is. Like, what's a significant difference?
Like in terms of school?
Whatever. Yeah, just an observation.
Yeah, in terms of school, schools are also different. Our schools are small and the resources are not that much. But here, kind of like for me being at a school where there are a lot of resources, I think that's a good thing for me. But also, really just to be here, I think.
So you're excited. And just, quickly, one of our first ministries in Malawi was called Youth Care.
Yeah.
They started what they called a safe haven for boys.
Yeah.
And you were one of the first boys.
Yeah. I was.
Tell us a little bit about, what that meant to you to be able to get involved with that ministry.
Yeah. So part of my background, I grew up as an orphan, and due to poverty at home, I was pushed to go into the street, and I was homeless for about 2 years. So my life.
Wait a minute. You're homeless.
Yeah.
For 2 years.
Yeah.
And how old are you at this point?
I was 8 years old.
8 years old. So are you out of school?
Yeah, I was really out of school.
Okay, so you're out of school. You're essentially living on the streets. How did you survive?
So surviving was so tough. We had to ask money from people, but we had also to walk into restaurants and ask for food. And sometimes just to go and steal things for other people, just to get money, and so it was really tough to survive. And
so between the ages of 8 and 10, you're living on the streets.
Yes.
And you're just hustling to survive. You get accepted into the safe haven home. Mm-hmm. So now you've got a bed.
Yeah.
You've got some food.
Yeah.
And they get you back in school.
Yeah, they had to do homeschooling, so that's where we had like teachers coming in and to teach us how to read and write. Because at that time I couldn't read and write, so they had to bring teachers to teach me how to read and write before they send me to a public school outside the
So you go to public school, you get through high school, and then you have a chance to go to college.
Yes.
And where did you go to college?
So I went to African Bible College.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the college that I went. I was just inspired by the founder at that time. He was also from African Bible College, but also seeing other interns that were coming to the orphanage. They were all from African Bible College, so I was like, I think one day I gotta go back to the same college.
And it's interesting that a member from this church put you through college.
Yes.
So they basically paid for your tuition. And so here we are this morning, 4 or 5 years later, and not only have you graduated from college, but now you're in grad school. Yes. And what are you studying?
I'm doing organization development.
Organizational development.
Yeah.
And your dream is to do what when you get back?
So my dream is to go back home in Malawi and not really like to start, but when I was in college, I started a ministry. So working with the street boys and girls, those that are homeless and the orphans. So going back, I'm going to just do the ministry on a larger scale now.
Okay, so you're going to go back and reach young people that sort of you understand that life.
Yeah, I do. I really understand.
It's exciting. Thanks, Hamilton.
Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Maxted, who are you?
So my name's Luke Maxted. I am a half of a fellows team with my wife Kelly. We've come over from London to be here and to...
I thought that was a New Jersey accent.
No, I know, everyone gets that. But we've come to learn and then to go home to East London where Kelly grew up to launch Urban Promise UK.
So tell me, why does London need an urban promise?
So, I mean, despite being one of the wealthiest cities in the world, there's actually, across the whole city of London, the child poverty rate is 39%. So with housing costs...
Wait a minute, you said 39%?
39%
of children living in London
are growing up in poverty.
Or growing up in poverty.
And in the community that Kelly grew up in East London, a place called Dagenham, actually that's 50%. And a lot of that is to do with the high cost of housing, the high cost of services. Even a teacher back home, so my sister-in-law was a teacher, she went back to work when she had young kids, that her salary only covered the cost of childcare. She wasn't making any money working as a teacher full-time. Her salary only covered childcare, so there are lots of people who can't afford to work because the money that they would earn in lower paid jobs wouldn't actually cover the cost of how much it would take even for 2 hours after school. So part of our dream is to be able to provide that after school care, that short space, 2-3 hours after school finishes, so that a parent can finish a working day. And that lift, that lift of kind of having the opportunity to work will bridge some of that gap.
So let me ask you this, though. Just like, why Urban Promise? Like, there's lots of organizations out there, but for some reason you've come to the U.S. 2 years with a family, sacrificing a lot to learn this particular model. What was it about Urban Promise that you said, we need to take this back?
So we first came across Urban Promise when we were at Bible College, London School of Theology, which sits just kind of in the suburbs of London. And James Russell, who's the programs director at Wilmington, is from the same part of London as me. And he showed up with a group of street leaders one evening. They were trying to recruit summer interns, and they shared their vision about 10 years ago. And Kelly, I'd heard of Urban Promise before. I didn't go to the presentation, but Kelly went, she came back, and she was like, I really want to go and learn this. I want to go and do this. Because back home, I mean, either organizations, they work with children from kind of kindergarten through to the end of elementary school, and then they stop and they let the teenagers kind of go into the world and onto the street, or they pick up young people after they've got the problems. And so part of the thing about the Urban Promise model is that you don't just kind of start with a kid and then release them, or you don't pick up a teenager who is already struggling. You take young people through from 5-6 years old all the way through to 18. You provide them not just with something to do, but leadership training, job training. The Street Leader program doesn't exist back home.
Okay.
So that's kind of a big thing for us.
Yeah. Well, great. I mean, it's exciting. So now when a First Pres Moorestown person comes to London, they can...
Please do.
Hang out with you.
Yeah, get in touch.
All right. So Luke, Claw, come on up. And good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Reed.
So you like to sing.
Yeah, I love to sing.
Tell me, how did you start singing? Like, did it just, like you've always been singing, or was it something that came later in life?
As far back as I was 6 years old, I remember, I think I wrote my first song. So it's like, I think it's been all my life, I've been singing.
Yeah. And Liberia, interesting country. I mean, I think most folk here probably know that Liberia was settled by freed enslaved peoples, right, from the U.S.
Yes.
And so Liberia is kind of unique in that respect, but tell us a little bit about what's going on there now.
Well, as you said, rightly said, Liberia was established by free slaves from the U.S. In 1822, and then got her independence 1847. Most of the country, the rule has been by the settlers. In the 1980s, the Aborigines took over the country by a coup overthrow, and that has moved on to now where there is the president that is there was a very famous soccer player, and it's been a movement from a regime that was kind of like with someone who was a settler-oriented person to someone who is from the Aborigines, and there's a lot of political conflict issues going on in the country, especially with allegations of corruption and unemployment, issues, crimes, and different things are on the rise. Especially one of the major problems in our country right now is the drug infestation. With a lot of young people are hooked on drugs and they're getting seriously addicted.
So what I've read, the average age in Liberia is pretty young, right?
Yes.
So there was sort of that generation of adults, a lot of civil war, Ebola, and so now you've got this very young population. So what do you want to do when you get back?
Well, we want to start a ministry we call Quality Life Liberia, and that is providing mentorship, training, and we'll say career development mentorship and vocational training programs for our young people. Because most of the problems we do have is jobs are not being created in Liberia. So we have to create a system of innovation and creativity so the young people are able to think about ways to solve their own problems, create their own jobs and their own programs. So we want to see how we can invest in like catering trainings for young male and females to be able to provide food and decorations and everything for people who have occasions. We're also looking at partnering with another firm to do auto mechanic type programs, and then also music after school program to be able to help develop those skills. Because most of the people in Liberia, most of the young people love to sing, love music. And we also believe that if we do drama and music, there can be a lot of young people benefiting from that.
So essentially you're saying we want to, help young people develop job skills. We want to create some businesses. We want to reach kids after school.
Exactly.
And we kind of want to walk with young people through their teenage years.
Exactly.
So, well, thank you so much. And, I know that you're here, your family's at home.
Yes.
So you're basically taking 2 years away from your family to study so that you can go back. Amazing commitment. So anyway, thanks. So those are three just of our fellows. And I'm going to look out in the audience here. Does anybody have a question before we wrap up for any one of our fellows or myself? Yes, Linda.
How does a fellow get involved in the program, and what does the program look like for Urban Promise International each year?
So the question was, how does somebody get involved in the Fellows Program, and what does it look like? So this is what happens. So we've got now these ministries all over the world, and a lot of those ministries have young people work on their teams. So like in Malawi, for example, Hamilton mentioned his ministry that he grew up in, but it attracted these students from African Bible College. So what we do now is we start what we call an online fellows program. So we identify, again, leaders in these countries. They do a year online with us. And then from that year online, we sort of vet and we try to find out what leaders are serious. And then we make an invitation to the leaders that we think would do well in this kind of program. And so they come to the U.S. and they spend 2 years. They work on a master's. They get involved in our ministries, so they're actually working in after-school programs. They're learning leadership by watching some seasoned urban youth ministry leaders. But here's one of the interesting things, Linda. At the end of their 2 years, they come to the Urban Promise International Board, and they present a proposal for what they want to do when they get back to their country. What's interesting about that, if you study sort of statistics, a lot of times when young leaders come from countries around the world, they'll get a master's degree, they won't go back because there's just not jobs. So what we say is if we like the proposal that you're presenting to our board, we'll say, Hamilton, Urban Promise International, we're going to make a $20,000 commitment to you for the first year. But, Hamilton, you need to go out and you need to raise $20,000 to match that, okay? The next year, Urban Promise International says, okay, we're going to go from 20,000 maybe down to 15. The following year, down to 10. The idea is that these guys, these leaders, are developing their own sources of funding. So now, what do we, Luke, 33 affiliates? So we have 33 affiliates around the world now. It's a very decentralized model. But what's neat about this is that these young people, Urban Promise is not just writing checks every month. These leaders are developing their own funding streams, and that's been really critical. And I think it's what makes this program somewhat unique. I don't know, Luke, did you want to add to that? Just any thoughts on sort of that model? Has it been a challenge for you, or do you think it's a good model?
No, I mean, it's been a great model, especially for us in the UK. I mean, you were shocked when I said about the child poverty rate. There is wealth back home. It's just the separation and the income disparity is so huge. So I think for us being able to learn here, to have that kind of startup money because things are expensive in the UK, to know that there's kind of that backing, to be part of an international community that not only do we have people like you to turn to, but Hamilton and Clara, and be able to look around the world and say, okay, in Honduras, in Colombia, not just in Liberia and Malawi, but also in LA or Vancouver or Toronto, there are people that we can turn to who can encourage us. We're a big network, and that's a great help as well.
It's great. Hamilton, favorite class in grad school? Come on, step up. What's one class that you've just really loved, and why have you loved it?
No, I have loved one.
Well, maybe two, but what's been your favorite class?
I'll say fundraising class.
Fundraising.
Yeah.
And what's one thing you've learned about fundraising?
Generosity, big God, generosity.
Generosity begets generosity?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that, yeah.
Yes, so I just love the fact that when people like us, people that are going to start ministries, when we are in front of people asking for support, we are not asked for our own selves, but rather we are asking for many people that are behind us, like those kids that they will never have like opportunities to go to school. So we are there in between, asking for the support for that. So I was just happy to say, whenever we are asking, we should not feel afraid or what, because it's not for us, but rather it's for the people of God as well.
Well, I may need to sit down with you and take some notes on what you're learning. Any last question before we wrap? Yeah. Oh, where are you going to school?
Curry.
Cairn University. So just up kind of Bucks County, and we used to partner with Eastern University, and then they had a few changes in their master's program, and now the students are over at Cairn University. But it's been a good setting. So anyway, yeah, Linda.
Can you just tell us about the child sponsorship program?
Sure. So the question was, tell you about the child sponsorship program. That's what they call a slow pitch, Linda. So as you may know, funding is an ongoing need in this work, and so we have individuals sponsor children, and I think I mentioned earlier, but through all our programs, say in Malawi and Uganda and Nigeria now, I mean, we're probably working with 4,000 kids. And so we're looking for child sponsors. And I think it's $30 a month, $32 a month. So, about $1 a day less than a cup of coffee to sponsor a child that is involved in a program that's focusing on spiritual development, academic development, social development, and also includes meals. So if you're interested, log on to our website, urbanpromiseinternational.com, and I think you click a couple of times, no? Oh, okay, sorry, urbanpromiseinternational.org, not com. I don't know where you'd go if you got com. So anyway, thanks again, and you know, you guys are a blessing to us. Thank you.